Okay, so for those of you who want to follow along with the code, the live stream I just set live, so you can go to YouTube, again, type in .wargames, look for the video that says live now in red, and sometimes YouTube takes like a minute to 2 minutes to actually get it up there, so if you don't see it, just keep refreshing the page until you do, and that'll show you my desktop so you can actually copy my code. Yeah.
Found it.
What's that? We'll have to take a look at it later in lab time. I think today we're not doing anything with landscapes though, as far as the lesson, so you'll want to get back at once you're done with this.
Lesson! DJ Kelly.
What's this new game I keep seeing?
It's Conquer.io.
Conquer.io? Top type.
That's my thing.
How do you play it?
You just type the word, that's in the little box.
Yeah, but how do you do the best at it?
The first one.
Oh, so you're typing in words and then...
Not really.
So it actually makes you like a better typer then, too. It seems like one of those educational games, like Mavis Beacon. It's actually pretty... I'm surprised that this is fun. It's good though.
Why are you kissing me?
You guys can make something like this in Unreal. I would start with a 2D template, and then I'd use 3D objects and use something called a text widget. You make a blueprint, coded blueprint for all those. So that is what we're going to do today, by the way, as your projects get loaded. We're going to create a blueprint from scratch. Remember what a blueprint is? It is a custom coded object, right? So we're going to create one from scratch. I see, yes. Just to remind everyone. Wait, why is it so hard to... Oh, well, you're a teacher. I thought you had tape.
Well, this teacher's not prepared.
Apparently. All right. I'll be the sub then for you until you're prepared for today. All right, sounds good. You're welcome. So, thank God, by the way, this mic is working. It's a lot easier to talk this way. So, what I was saying is we're going to make our own blueprints today. So that's a custom coded object. So if you're not loading Unreal, make sure you're loading. Are you loading Unreal? Yes, great. All right, awesome. What's that? No, leave the world that you already created. Yeah. Is your map blank? Oh, it's just dark.
Hey, blood.
Okay. You got everything. Great. All right, cool. Awesome. So, you guys should be loading your projects. It's logging in. Slow. Are these your normal computers? Yeah. Slow. So definitely we're going to cover so much today. Do pay attention because it's going to be one of those things where you're like, oh, this sucks that I didn't pay attention and I didn't follow along because it's a ton of information. Like, we're going to get a lot done today. Yeah, there's a question? Okay, come back. All right, there's a question over here. Yeah.
It's not a question, it's just, I don't know where my world is.
You know where or what?
I don't know where my world is. It's the same.
Well, you could delete the sky and delete the light and delete everything and make it dark again. But the code's Are you sure this is the project? That you only have one project? If you go File, Open Projects. Go to File. Open Projects. Okay, so you have a bunch here. Find the one that's. Are you sure? Because this one has all. Wait, hit cancel for a second. Okay, but like this one looks like it's got a dark light on it and stuff. You make new projects. I mean, if everything's deleted, I'd say, yeah. I mean that's because it's on the live stream now, so follow along. Yeah. I'm Mark Jefferson. I passed out the clipboard on Tuesday. Did you sign your name on it? The office might have marked you absent. So what I could do is I could write a note that you can bring to the office that says you weren't absent on Tuesday. So let's go do that. Yeah, the office that would want another.
Wait, where's that clipboard?
Yeah, where's the attendance clipboard right now? What row? Alright, it's on the left.
For real? Y'all take it right here. Oh,
I go right now.
Yeah, you can.
Get the hell.
So what's your name?
Alexi.
Mouth loud. Suck on your toe. Oh my god, I just
Last name?
Alexis.
How do you spell that?
MELELEN.
D-R-E-Z. Get some water? Go ahead. This works.
I saw you with that fucking mom on the inside and you pulled it out.
You always pull it out again? Look at the monument. Warmex. Oh, look, you can see that. You can see. You cut my off. Math wild. Don't scare me. Don't scare me.
So guys, does your flashlight drain? And it drains in the widget too? Like it shows it in it shows the progress bar going down?
Yeah, but it doesn't, like, you can still use it afterwards.
You can still use it after, oh man, okay. So, we could code that, but that's gonna take, you probably wanna get to the enemy stuff right away then. Does it go below 0? Like, you know,
It goes into negatives.
negatives? Okay, so that's like a whole lesson on its own. So we won't do that, but we can definitely take care of that eventually. If that's the case, we won't worry about doing the battery right now because, well, we can, but it's sort of like, well, he can still turn his light back on. We'll get started on, wrong, no. We'll get started on either the battery. No, you know, we could do the battery because it still drains. Right. So everybody, go ahead and you're in your front of your Unreal Engine. So everybody gets to the front. And we're going to start in Content Browser right away. So in Content Browser, it's a bottom folder. Go ahead and right-click in an empty area. And I want you to select the thing that says Blueprint Class. Blueprint Class. Okay. And you're going to get this menu here. And you see all these different options like actor, pawn, character. These are the different types of blueprints you can make. Remember, a blueprint is just an object with code on it. 99% of the time, you're going to be choosing the one that says actor at the very top. So that's what we're going to choose now. Click actor, and it's going to create this new blueprint here in your content browser. You're choosing actor, the top one, actor. Okay. And then I want you to rename that blueprint. So you can either do that because it has it auto-selected for you, or right-click on the blueprint in the content browser and just click rename. Yeah, question?
I don't know how to get to the blueprint.
So you could, what you're doing is you're right-clicking in Content Browser, and then you get this menu that comes up. The other option to do that is to just hit the green Add New button on the left. Same menu.
And then blueprint class.
Blueprint class, yep.
And then actor.
Yep, actor.
So add new.
And then we rename it.
You rename it. I want you to name it BP for blueprint underscore enemy. Oh, cool. Thank you. I think I moved this.
Yes, sir. We click actor.
I'm Mr. Torres, and you're gonna click actor. Did anybody not sign the attendance sheet?
Okay, then
Who's here? You didn't sign it? No one? Everybody signed it? Yeah?
And we drag it.
We're gonna drag it later, but yes, that is the idea. We'll drag it eventually. But no, right now you just named it BP underscore enemy. And yeah, watch the language. And I'll explain it one more time, but really follow along. So you're in your front of Unreal. You have Content Browser. Click the green Add New button. Choose Blueprint class. Click Actor. That's going to give you a blue thing down here. That's your blueprint. Right-click it and rename it so that it makes sense. And rename it BP underscore enemy. That's all you're going to do. Okay. Once you've done that, double-click the blueprint and drag the tab up to the top so that you can have full view. And you've already been here before. You've already seen this when you did your third-person character blueprint stuff. Okay. The only difference is this is a blank blueprint. This one's happening from scratch. Right? What we want to do is we want to make this blueprint behave as you know what? Actually, I want. You know what we'll do is we're going to do our battery power for our batteries first. So I know we named this enemy. Go back, right-click, rename. This is good practice renaming. And change that last part to battery. We're not going to do the enemy because I don't want you creating the enemy from scratch because it's a little complicated. But I'll have another way for you to create the enemy. So find it and rename the blueprint we just made BP battery. Okay, this is the battery blueprint, not the enemy. And then, of course, go back into it, and once you've got the blueprint open, go and let me know. You have the blueprint open? Good. All right, good. Anybody else behind? You need to slow down?
Is this what you mean by blueprint?
Yep, that looks good. Cool. All right, so you have your blueprint open. The first thing you want to do is you want to go to the left here, upper left, and type and click Add Component, the green Add Component button, and find the thing called Static Mesh. You can either scroll for it, or you can type in Mesh or Static, and click Static Mesh. Static Mesh is just a shape, and we want to give our battery some shape so it looks like something. We want to make it look like a battery. So you're adding the Static Mesh. And
Drag it into the world?
No, you just click it. Okay. Now nothing will appear because you haven't told the static mesh what to look like. So with static mesh selected, on the right side, look at details, and you'll see there's a property there in details called static mesh, and it says none. Okay. Click the none drop down, right, and then you'll have access to all these shapes. And the shape that I like is one called, but you can choose whatever shape you want. There's one called, I think, shape cylinder. I think that one looks sort of like a battery, so I'll click that. And I get this cylinder shape. So again, you added a static mesh from the components on the left. While you have static mesh selected, look into its details, that's the panel on the right, and look for the static mesh property. It's called static mesh. And if you click the drop down, because it's going to be set to none when you start, you'll have all these different shapes that are in your project you can use. And we're going to do shape cylinder.
Materials?
No, not materials. We'll do that in a second. We're doing the static mesh right above materials.
I did the cylinder.
Okay, you got the cylinder? Right, great. So the next thing that I'm going to do is, this is going to be way too large of a battery. So let's scale it down. You could either use the scale tool like we're used to, and that's fine. What I'm going to do though is I'm going to use on the details here, there's a category called scale, and I can change these numbers so it can be more precise. So I'm going to change these to 0.1. That's going to make it really tiny. That'll make it a good shape for a flashlight battery.
On everything?
Yeah, 0.1 everything.
Is this transformed?
This is in transform under the scale category. And by the way, this doesn't have to be perfect. You can come back and change the size of this later on. Okay? So, and you probably will. So, let's change the materials now then. So, materials, click that because we don't want it to be this ugly wall. Click whatever material you feel is appropriate for a battery. There's one that I really like in here that's called M Door. It's meant for a door in starter content, but it looks pretty battery-like to me.
Where is that? Material?
In materials, yeah. So you click the drop-down materials and then choose a material for your battery. And me, because I'm fancy, I'm going to make this one of these sides of this battery a little longer. So I'm going to make that to 0.2 so that it looks a little bit more like a normal battery. Was that a question over there? I saw a hand raised. Oh. Finally, what I'm going to do, and again, this is optional, it's all cosmetic, but I'm going to rotate this battery. So I'm going to my rotate tool so that it's like lying on the floor, you know? So I'm going to just rotate it down. And with the arrow key, I'll bring it up a little bit so it's above this grid so that it's sort of resting exactly on the floor.
So you're going to make it rest.
Well, yeah, just like in a way a battery would naturally fall. Yep. So once you've done that, we have something that looks like a battery, right? Now we just got to make it behave like a battery. So I want you to go back to your Add Components on the left, click the green Add Component button, and this time we're going to add collision. And I just want you to type in the word COL, and you'll see there's 3 different types of collision that come up. Any one of these will work. Any one of these will work. They all work the same. Okay. So I want you to choose sphere collision, the sphere one. Any one of them will work. I like sphere, so choose sphere. And once you add sphere collision, go ahead and scale it so that it's pretty large. What sphere collision is going to do is it's going to be responsible. It's basically an invisible circle that if your player touches or collides with, you can then trigger the event code. Yeah. Help? Okay, I'll be right over.
Hold on, bro. Your thing is growing.
Usually like long on one side, long on the
Yo, what's up?
So we're gonna end up using large. Okay, so you've added sphere collision. Is that a hand raised over there? Yep. No? How do you rig what to the shape? Take over there, whoever's singing, please stop. Thank you. What's the question? The shape of the battery? You can change it with the scale tool stuff. So scale is going to let you change the shape of something in different directions, right? I would say just hold off on that for now, and you can customize your battery later. If it just looks like a boring cylinder, that's fine. Okay, I see 2 questions, so I'm gonna go ahead and run over there real quick. Okay, hit add component. Want static mesh? That one. Yep. And then in the static mesh property, click the drop down. And then find a shape. Cylinder works. And then once you find that, we'll go ahead and move on with that. You can change it, customize it later. Type in COL. Yeah, spherical. Okay. This is good. Yours is good. Yours is good. Okay.
Hey, what?
Yours is good. Okay, good job. All right. Let's continue. Okay. So you have this sphere, and I want you to make the sphere bigger. Remember, it's sphere collision. You don't want like just a gravisphere. It has to be the one that says collision, because that'll mean it's invisible, and then it'll be useful. So I'm going to make it quite bigger than my battery using the scale stuff. So I would say about there is good. So the reason we're making it big is we're going to use this sphere to allow the player. We're going to use this sphere to allow the player to collect the battery. And what the code's going to do is code's going to recharge the battery, and then it's going to delete the battery that you just picked up, so you don't have this infinite source of recharges. Okay? And so the reason we're adding sphere collision is, and the reason we're making it big, is it needs to be big enough so by the time the player is near the battery, it just automatically is equipped. That's why we're making this big sphere. You'll see that in a second. So you want to make your sphere big. And then what I want you to do is, in its details, scroll all the way to the very bottom. And at the very bottom, you'll see all of these green rectangles with plus signs on them. And it's in a category called events. Remember, events are things that happen in your program, things that happen in your game. And so what's going to happen is we want to pick the second event down that says on component begin overlap. Just click the plus icon. Okay? And once you've done that, it'll either take you to the graph right away, or you just go and click over to the event graph tab. And you'll see this brand new event here called on component begin overlap. And it says sphere. You want to click the event that says on component begin overlap. On component begin overlap. Not hit, on begin overlap. Yeah. Okay. Now this event isn't that complicated. It looks like it's got all these options and stuff. You're only going to use one of them. This is a very commonly used thing. It's games, you're always checking if something's colliding, right? And the first thing that you want to do is you want to drag off of this thing that says other actor. So drag off other actor. And then type in cast to and find third person character. Third person character. What's going on here is basically you're narrowing down what's colliding with the sphere to the third person character. Because if you drag this battery into your level, it's going to be colliding. It's going to be colliding with your floor, it's going to be colliding with any decorations you have, it's going to be colliding with lights. You only want to trigger this code when it collides with the player character, because if the player character is walked by the battery, then that means he saw it and he wants to collect the battery.
Look what happened.
You didn't click the plus icon. In the right, there's a plus icon, right in details on your computer, yeah. On begin overlap. You got to click that one. Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions? Okay. All right. So let's move on. And we still want to code our enemy, by the way. So let's try and get this part over with. There's not too much left to this, actually. Once you've got this cast to third person character and it's all connected, drag off of as third person character, and then type in battery. What's cool is by doing this, we have access to the battery variable. That's the whole idea of casting as well. It lets us access anything on that object. So we're asking, hey, did you overlap with the third person character? If so, give us the third person character's battery. And by the way, you want to choose set battery, okay? And then make sure you connect that as well. You connect that white wire so that the logic continues to flow. And this part's really intuitive. You probably figured out what we're doing already, is you just want to make sure the new battery number is 1.0, right? Because that's going to recharge the battery to 100%.
So I was hoping something, so how did we get the green thing?
So all you to get the green thing, guys, to get the battery power, again, you just drag off of that as third person character part of the cast. So you cast a third person character, and then toward the bottom of that node, you have this thing that says as third person character. It's a blue circle. You drag off for a blue wire, and that'll let you get battery. You choose the set battery power. Yeah, question over there.
I should battery is only set. I can't find that.
Okay. So if you can't find battery, it's because you're not dragging off of this blue part of as third person character. That's the part you have to drag off of.
I did.
What is it third person character that you're casting to then? Make sure it's not third person anim, third person anything else. It's got to be third person character. Okay, then dragging off of, well, maybe you don't have the, because you said your project reset, right? Okay, so if you don't have the battery on your character, then it won't be accessible. So if you want, you can hop over to your third person character and look just to double check. Make sure you have battery. But if not, then use the lab time to get everything back in your project. You do have your battery?
Yeah.
Well, then it should be accessible off of this if you drag it off. Yeah. By the way, guys, I've had projects reset on me as well and had to start from scratch. And it does suck, but what it's really good for is for learning, because it ends up reforcing you to do something that you watched happen, and now you have to think through it. So it's actually really useful. Those of you who've had projects reset, you'll actually be much better off as developers. Yeah, question? Need help? Okay, who else needs help? I'll do another round. Okay. So make sure your sphere selected. And then they already added the view. Yeah. And you're all good. All you do is drag off the add third person character, type in battery, you want to set. Did yours get reset, your project, by chance? You don't battery on your character. Do you know where? Oh, you added battery to this blueprint or something? Or, yeah, I think so. Maybe yours got reset or something. So, let me set this up really quick. Were you here when we did the event like joining the battery power and setting and stuff? No. Okay. Were you on the field trip? Yeah. So, does anybody else here not have the battery power variable on the third person character? Like you never did it? So about 4 of us? Or is that it? Do raise your hand, because then you know this, because then I can help people. So there's only about 4 of us. Okay, 5. All right, so we're going to continue. We're just going to continue as is. And then during lab time, I can explain to you. I'll have you all guys come up and watch, and we'll code exactly what we did on that Monday or whatever it was. All right. So I just created these so you can access them. You don't have to do anything with it for now. But now I can drag off for the sake of it. Okay, just set. What's that? Called collision sphere. So you want to put COL. Yeah. Help?
You, I'll
All right. Were you on the Seaman field trip too? So that's why. So I'm just going to add these variables for you. We're not going to do any code with it. You'll come see that at the end, but it is. All right, now let's go back here, and if you go to this, you'll have the battery. Do a set. Okay. Who else was on the Seaman field trip? I can come help. Okay.
battery power.
So you and then you.
Oh, shit. Shit. Oh, wait, that should be the monster. Yeah.
Okay. I'll be right there. Now if you drag it off, no battery. So you choose the set.
Yeah, it's not like that. This dude is giving us salary. Have you gave me that shit? Something's on. Ah, there we go. Let your woman know that we. Look. You know or you think?
Now when you drag it off, the battery, you want to set. Okay.
No, sing it. It works.
Yeah. Oh no, this part is made in. Oh, okay. Oh, just do open a copy. Yeah. Yep, sure. Just give those degrees anyway.
I didn't know it.
Method. All right. Hand raise. Here Dude, you're way ahead of it. Oh, you did it right, but we haven't. Yeah, it looks great. So we just got to finish the coding. Is it recharging you, or is it? Okay, so the last thing we're going to do, yeah, it is, okay, it's great. But we want to destroy the battery. So guys, let's move on. Okay, so go ahead and follow along. That was our intermission to help people catch up. But now that we're caught up, we're mostly caught up, let's do our final node. We're almost done on this whole thing. So make sure you have set battery power, and make sure you're setting it to 1, right? That's going to recharge it fully. There's one final thing you want to add, and that is called something that's called destroy actor. What does destroy actor mean? It just means destroy the blueprint. You don't want this battery to be this infinite source. You want it to be collected once, right? So drag off type in destroy.
Destroy?
Destroy. Choose destroy actor. And it'll say in the target, it'll say self. That's perfect. We want the battery to destroy itself, right? You just leave that as it is. Then hit compile. Final last thing to do, go ahead and go back to the front of your Unreal interface and drag a few of these batteries into your level. Drag a few of them in there. And think about how cool that is that you only coded one battery once, but you can have many batteries out of it. So drag several, and then play, and let your flashlight drain. Some of you guys don't have that code right now.
I don't have it.
Yeah, so those of you who are on the field trip don't have that yet.
Yeah, I don't have it.
But
I just picked it up.
but you'll see the battery delete, which means it's working, which means it's actually working. So you're picking up the batteries. Destroy actor is the node. Yep. All right. Now we're still making really good time, so we're going to move on to doing our enemy AI, and then once we're done with that, I'll help the people who aren't here. Okay, getting started. So go ahead and hit escape. If for some reason your battery is not working, that's okay. We'll come back. I'll just have to help you individually. But we're going to move on, and we're going to move on to making our enemy. So everybody go to the front of Unreal again. And go ahead and hit save all, by the way. Just make sure that you have your work saved. And then once you've done this, you're in the front of Unreal. We're going to go into the content browser. And we're going to make sure that we have the folder on the left here that's selected is content. That way when we search, we look through all of the files in the whole project. So make sure content on the left is selected. And then this center bar, type in third-person character. And you want to find your third-person character blueprint in the content browser. And what we're doing here is we're actually going to, rather than make an enemy from scratch, we're just going to duplicate our player character because he's already got animations, he's got code that works for him, and then we'll just modify our new duplicated version of the player character so that that new character is an enemy. Right? So that way we're not doing anything from scratch. So I hear talking while I'm talking, which means you're going to be asking questions of me in a minute. So please listen. Okay? I need you to look at the board. Thanks. Okay, so go ahead and right-click this third-person character that you found in your content browser, right? And then hit duplicate. And then once you hit duplicate, you can rename it BP _ and name it enemy or Slender or something, right? Yeah, and then we're going to double-click to open it up. That's exactly right. And it's going to disappear because it's searching for a third-person character. So if you just renamed it, it'll disappear. So go ahead and look for it again. Type in whatever you named it, enemy or Slender. And then once you find it, double-click it. Also, everyone, please do this for me. Close out of your third-person character tab because the last thing I want happening is you accidentally changing your character, your actual player character, by doing the code on the wrong one. So close your third-person character and just make sure that your enemy Slender character is now open. You'll see all the code on it that we already wrote for our player character because, again, we duplicated that. Okay? All right, there's a question over here. Hand raised. Okay. Oh, hey. So you can name it by right-clicking and you can option this whole list and look for the one that says rename. Yeah, right click on it. Then you make it shorter, or is say it's too long and it's also can't have any spaces, by the way. The name can't have spaces. Okay. So once you've duplicated it, go ahead and go to the viewport. And you're on your enemy blueprint now. So go to your viewport. Let's just change his skin. Let's change his material to something so that we can know and that he's the enemy and differentiate him. So select his mesh. And in details, there's actually two materials for him. So you change both of those. For the main body material is the one in element 0. And I did something really cool in one of the classes that I'm going to go with, which is I changed his material to wood pine. And with the idea that, because this is like really good pine wood looking material, then I'll make a scene where I'll have wood and pine forests, and my enemy will blend in with that. And maybe like stay still and then follow the player when he's not looking or something like that. So, but change it to whatever. I saw some people put like leaf stuff where he's partly transparent. That looks really cool. So definitely change his material to whatever you want. So mine's is wooden material. All right. Now, once you're happy with that, let's go to the event graph. And now we're going to write the code that makes our enemy behave. Okay? So click on the event graph tab. You're now in the event graph. And in the event graph, find an empty piece of graph, an empty area. Okay? So make sure you have your enemy character blueprint open. And it's not your third person blueprint. We're not changing a third person player at all. Yeah, question?
So we're just going to keep all the stuff already in there?
Yeah, you can keep all that stuff because it doesn't matter. So I was asked a really good question. He said, well, this is the enemy blueprint. Why are we should we keep in, the F key and all that stuff, the camera? You could delete it, but there's no point really. So just leave it, especially because there's probably that one guy who's editing his third person character blueprint right now, and I don't want him deleting everything. So anyway, you found an empty area of the graph on your enemy. I want you to right click and type in custom event, and then select the option that says add custom event. Okay. We've done this, maybe we didn't do this in this class, but yep, add custom event. And what that is this is an event that we define, that we get to name and change. So go ahead and name it, and you can name it in the details panel on the right, and name it follow player. That's the name of your event. And you can have spaces on this. You can. Yes, you can.
Follow player?
Follow player. That's the name of our event.
Got it.
Okay. And then once you've done that, drag off of there and type in, let's see, what are we typing in? Cast to third person character. Cast a third person character. Okay. And then we've already done this, so you know what this is. Remember, we got to have something in our object for cast a third person character. So drag off of object, and remember you type in player character. Get player character.
Got it.
Next, what I want you to do is I want you to drag off of the end of third person character and type in AI move to. AI move to. And you'll see there's an option. It's called AI move to. Click that. What's that? Oh, good. That's great. So there's only two options we need to set for this AI move to. The first one is pawn. Okay, so drag off of pawn. What that is that's saying, well, what's the thing that's doing the moving? You know, a pawn in Unreal is like a character, okay? It's like, well, what's moving? And so that's really easy. We just drag off a pawn and type in the word self, and then you see it says get a reference to self, click that. And then you'll have this thing that says self that's now connected to pawn. And the reason that we're doing that is we're coding on the enemy. So we're just saying, hey, what's moving? Just the self, me, my code. I'm the enemy right now running this code. Get a reference to self. Okay. And then the other setting we want to do is in AI Move To. You'll see this thing that says target actor. That's saying, well, what are we moving to? Where are we going? And for that, you want to just have the player character, which is really easy because remember you have this cast to node over here. And we have this as third person character option on the cast to. Connect that to the target actor. Just like this. Connected to the target actor. Okay. And there's 2 more steps, and then we're going to be, we should have a working AI. So go ahead and go to the front of your Unreal Editor now. We're done in there for now. And the first thing I want you to do is we got to drag an enemy into our level if he's already in there. So go ahead and from the content browser, drag in your BP underscore enemy, whatever you called it, blueprint. Drag him in there. Okay. And don't put him too close to the player because we want to see if he's working, if he'll be following us. So put him a little bit of a distance. So now you drag him into your world. Okay. Now the last thing we got to do is we got to bring in something called a nav mesh bounds volume. Really complicated name, not complicated to use at all. It's just a box that will auto calculate where AI can go. Okay. And the AI won't work until you have it in there. So on the left panel, or modes panel, okay, in that search classes, type in NAV for nav, NAV. You see a couple options come up. The one you want is the one that says nav mesh bounds volume. Okay. Nav mesh bounds volume. And you want to drag that into your level. It's going to give you a box. Now, NAV, and it's a nav mesh bounds volume. You can put the box anywhere in the map because what I want you to do now is I want you to use the scale tool and make the box big so that it encapsulates anywhere where you think that you want your enemy to be able to walk to.
What are we looking for?
You're looking for nav mesh bounds volume in the modes panel on the left. NAV. So you type in NAV, you drag it in there. Okay. And then, yeah, like I said, you're going to expand it using the scale tool so that it's really big, it's going into the floor, and all that stuff. Now, I'll just show you. And for those who are doing it or whatever, I'll show you just so you get an idea. You don't have to do this, you won't see it this way. But I've just enabled this green floor thing. All that area that on my map that's green right now is where the AI can go. The nav mesh bounds volume is calculating that. If I change the size, you'll see it recalculate it. See that? So that's what the nav mesh bounds volume does. You know, you're not going to get, I enabled an option just to show you what it's doing. You're not going to see the green. So anyway, what I want you to do is let's go ahead and test it. And I'm going to test mine and hit play. And okay, my guy isn't running at me yet, so there might be an error in our code. Does anybody have it working yet?
No.
Just standing there?
Run up, what's up?
Oh, I know what happened. So everybody, we wrote our function called follow player, but nothing triggers follow player. So the very last step we gotta do is let's trigger our follow player event. And to do that, I want you to just put it in begin play. So go to your enemy, BP enemy slender, and find begin play. You already have some code on that because you duplicated it. That shows create widget, add to viewport, all that. So find the begin play event. And at the end of all the code coming off of begin play, drag off and just type in the name of your custom event, which is follow player.
Begin play.
Yep, begin play. Begin play is where we added our widget to our screen. Remember all that? You're gonna type in follow player because basically we're going to trigger our custom event. Our custom event's called follow player. That's our event that we named. And we're going to now trigger that when the game starts on begin play. Okay.
I think I missed something.
Okay, so everybody, I'm gonna say again what we're doing. So we created just now this code called follow player that will cause the AI to look for and basically hunt the player and not stop until it gets to him.
I
Right?
don't have that event in play.
Yeah. Okay. If you don't have it, just right click and type in begin play, and then click the event begin play, and it'll take you to it. Okay. And off of begin play, you want to just drag off and then call or trigger the custom event you made by typing in follow player. Name it.
So we connect the event play with the follow player
Yep.
on the red box, right?
Yep.
Got it? Never mind.
No, you're not connecting begin play to the red box. You're dragging off of begin play and you're typing the name of your custom event, follow player, and you're gonna get a blue box, okay? I'm putting the code up here so you can see. All right.
Yes, that's what he said. You get a blue box, right?
I'll say it one more time. You drag off of the begin play code, you type in the name follow player, and you click that.
Okay, I think I got it.
All right, if you think you got it, hit play and see what happens. I'm hitting play on mine, and there's a guy sprinting at me.
Oh, dang! Jesus. Hey, bro, chill. Hey, stop. He's not even hurting me. His big Yeah, he stopped running at me.
All right, so if he stops running at you, that's really easy to solve. Go back to your event graph and go to your follow player code and go to the very end of it where we did the AI move to. And what's cool is if you look at the AI move to code, there's a couple, to continue off of AI move to, it's not just the normal white wire sideways triangle thing. There's two others, one called on success and on fail. What these are for is for executing code depending on whether he's got to you or not. So if he's succeeded in getting to his location, you drag off of on success. If he's failed, it's going to be executing off the on failed. So what you can do is just drag off of on success and recall your event. Type in follow player. And then connect follow player to on success from the AI move to. And what that basically is saying is, hey, once you found the player, follow him again.
Alright, bet.
And you can connect it as well as the on fail. And that will just make sure for sure that he never stops following you. And realistically, I'll come answer the questions in a second. I'll just say, realistically, maybe you don't want to call your follow player event right away when the game starts. Maybe you want. I am talking.
Sorry.
Maybe you want to call the follow player event after the player finds like his third clue or note or something on the ground. Or maybe you want to call the follow player event only when the player runs out of battery power. You know, so there's things that you should be able to think about and go like, well, it doesn't have, I can call this event in different ways depending on what I want to do, what I want to achieve. So think creatively like that. Right now we're just doing it in begin play because we want to see it working right away and test it. So that's follow player. That's it for the code for today. We still have 20 minutes. So now it's going to be lab time. Work on that and I'll come around to help answer questions. Good job. That was actually I think we made a lot of progress today. I mean, it probably felt like a lot of work,
How do I
but
add a sprint?
you did.
Right on my right behind me and I can't get him.
Cool. All right, I will come around and I'll leave this code up that we just did on the board.
Oh, I have to. I can't run.
Alright, so hands raised.
How do I make him slower, dude?
Okay, I'm good.
Mister, can I make him slow? She's like right behind me. I'm not talking. Okay, so the captions are change this one. So we can try this one and then color pickers is like the description supposed to be. Look, it got out of her. It got out of there. Alright. He just It's just running away. Mine's just running away. Oh, that's because you got too far from her. My thing is literally over my
Oh.
Yeah, look how big my look how big anything. What are the measurements?
A lot.
We've only checked this.
Follow her. This time, now you look on the right. Yeah.
Son, can you please tell him to sit down?
Sit yours.
Okay, so, don't worry about the great colors and stuff. That's from high school, mom and dad.
Oh, it's like
Drag up the and play. And right now it's called dressing.
Mom, not for real. You're trying.
Yeah, now it's straight in. Yeah, perfect.
You couldn't jump to me. Yeah, you can't jump when you're doing this. Oh.
What's up?
So if you dig back to the no, it's Casey Getty. He made a rag off the wrong side.
For the
No, pero
person.
mira. It's called the if you want, do it again. Fail. Now you want to.
No, Fresno, I'm always wanted a Batman
Are you sure you don't want diabetes? You don't want diabetes?
I'm good.
Wait, you turn the last
Okay, I didn't mention it.
It's not Jackie.
What's up? You're trying to paint this church right here. That looks fine, right?
It makes
Oh,
it
shit.
good.
That's fine.
You're gonna work out some.
And then now.
You're gonna work out Marias.
What?
Remember when that one couple that didn't race everything? But everybody had a chance to guide it.
So, I'm not gonna like.
No, I didn't. Oh my god, look! Yes! They're not even fans.
I thought he had.
It was gonna be.
Why are you lifting my ass like that? Bro, I don't drive lights out here and lights and stuff. Why do you put so much?
I have a question. You have a question or you need help?
I need help. When I drag out the battery, it's just the circle. It's not like the battery itself.
Open the battery, or take me to the battery. Yeah. Okay, because it's at a weird spot. It's above somewhere. Yeah, you want it. That's the floor. That's the ground. So you want it like basically both the way down. Yeah.
Okay.
You want it near the bottom of the.
I was helping too. I couldn't go to the bathroom.
No.
Yeah.
Gracias, me duele.
The Z. Yeah, drag it down.
I tried making it correctly, but I just
Too fast. Wait, go back to your keyboard. Oh yeah, they're there. See? The circle's there, right? You were pointing with the circle. Yeah. Like the spherical. The white circle you can only see in the editor. So if you play, the player's not going to see that.
Wait, how do I see it? Oh, for real?
Grace, how are you doing?
I'm bored.
I'm listening to the news.
I can't hear exactly. Jesus, man.
All right, we got 10 minutes left for those who went to SEMA. Do you want me to do the lesson right now, or do you want to just try and figure it out next
We'll
time?
just figure it out.
I'm asking people.
I did
Four
go.
people. Well, your project's behind, so I'm asking
Oh
people
yeah.
who are coming
Well,
along.
I mean, I went to see what it is.
no. No, the full.
So what do you think? Do you want me to post for battery? Yeah, battery stuff. Do this time? We have 10 minutes left. Try. Yeah, right. You guys got 10 minutes. The next time would be next week. Today's Thursday. So, oh, Friday. Yeah, Friday's a short class. So it'll be tough to. Yeah, that's Good Friday. Okay.
Oh my.
Alright. We only have 10 minutes left. So everybody who went to SEMA, who's like behind because you don't have variables and stuff,
Oh yeah.
we'll cover that Friday, okay? So at least you have an enemy now, we have all that. You get your variables and your battery draining Friday.
So warm over there, mister. Freezing. It's cold over there. I'll stand over there and have the pressure on. For like 10 minutes.
No, you're gonna mix it.
Ow. I officially think, right. I officially think I've got
Don't say that.
Don't say that. Yeah. This will be gone. It's not mine. I threw it away. It's me. These are even not.
They're leather. They're not the same as mine. Oh my god, why are you on leather?
Ow.
It's yours. I'll let you know.
Oh yeah.
Exactly.
Flip flop. Shut up.
No.
I don't know. Oh, okay. An hour.
Now, what are you doing? Bro, you already messed it up. Bro, you gotta stay with us. You gotta stay with us.
Any questions on this side of the room? I feel like I've been ignoring this side.
Gucci flip flop.
Okay, so let's see here.
Like a corn in the cob.
Oh, looks good, looks good. Good before. What did you do? Double turn. It's so small that it's a scale.
Where are you watching?
And then now, highlight all of them and put your mouse in the middle. All
What?
see them all highlight in the very center. Yeah, now it's back. Yeah, that's why. You make that big because the player's got to collide with that. Batteries. I make it look like yeah. And if you want to adjust it, you can. But now because oh my
Bro, it's like. You were gay!
So
You like when I could.
other acronyms. The other thing you could try is I have a light in my battery and I make it really subtle, so I lower the intensity and make it lower the radius. Kind of see where the battery's at. Otherwise,
Shut up.
Can't remember for shit, but I could do that. That's cool. Oh, that's. Oh, question. Why? Yeah, they're Yeah, honestly, this is something I would Google. Maybe try making another landscape and see what happens. And see if Oh, this is it. My goal is these units are in centimeters. I'm trying to model landscapes. So scale this up, it should be like at several thousand. There you go. That. Right? Feel better? You need to do command Z. Hey, we saw the bomb.
My friend right here?
Any questions? Still for a few minutes.
You redeploy them. There's 20 new people. Oh my god.
Guys, forgot to say this. If you have a D or an F or anything below a C in any class, you have to pick up one of these letters and get it signed. Dump them off. So go to this pile, find your name, and I did, but not all perfect. I have no idea, but that you can. Maybe 700, but if you bring it to me, I'll keep them on my desk for when whoever collects them. But, yeah. Oh, you got yours? Yeah, if you have them signed, I guess today or yeah.
This is one of my convenient apps. I only have one app. He hit me. Wait, Mario hit me. I don't like that.
Who got one?